Testing 1, 2, 3. All right.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
Now we can see a new world coming into view. A world in which there is a very real prospect of a new world order.
The new world order does not mean surrendering our national sovereignty or forfeiting our interests.
He took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. By some, he's been called controversial.
How can I convince you when your ears refuse to hear? You turn your heart away from me each time that I come here. Your eyes refuse to meet with mine, they glance away in fear.
Now, keep in mind that some of my guests have been approached by Homeland Security or FBI saying, why are you going on the Clay Douglas show?
My message to those guys, if they're listening this morning, is go get a cup of coffee. Maybe you'll learn something.
We both took the same oath, to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't recall there being an expiration date on that.
He is the free American, Clay Douglas. Catch the Free American weekdays at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern.
Every time I think about the damage that's been done, the anger wells inside me till I'm almost overcome. I want to tear the moon out of the sky and from the sun.
For the podcast and more details, visit www.freeamerican.com or catch the podcast by phone by calling
832-999-8621.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Friday edition of the Free American. I'm your host. I am Clay Douglas. And my guest on Friday, as usual, is Russell Pappalardo. But before Russell gets here, well, let's hear from Russell.
Friends, I'm going to talk about the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th symptom of a spiritual awakening. You've already heard a video clip, symptoms 1 through 3, and then another video clip with symptoms 4 and 5, and more for that matter. The 6th symptom of a spiritual awakening is a heightened sense of sensitivity. Your 5 senses are being fine-tuned and your 6th is opening. You may hear voices, you may see lights, shadows, aura or movements around objects or individuals. sparkles of light. You may even hear a buzzing sound. Don't worry. Go with the flow. You're being woken up. However, those voices that you hear are your spirit guides. It could even be your higher self if you hear that voice from within. Lay down a groundwork. You're in charge. Remember, you wake up in the way you want to, not the way anyone else wants you to. So you go with the flow. You get a heightened sense of sensitivity. As I said, your 5 senses are being fine-tuned, and your 6th sense is opening up. Your next stage, or the 7th stage, or the 7th symptom of the spiritual awakening is you start to see the world in a different manner. You were confused when you were asleep, so to speak, about why things happen, why the government acts a certain way, why they do certain things. Are they foolish, or is there something deeper or foul with it? Well, you start to see that there is. You start to see that these people who are in government, or in religion, or in the teaching profession, all seek power over all else. And the only way they can maintain their power is to keep you down. Well, you're not going to be down again. You won't allow it. You won't tolerate it. You start to know who you are, and you will not accept what's unacceptable. You see the world entirely different. And you also see that there's good in the world. You see that there are others like you who are trying to wake people up, or trying to do the right thing to alleviate the sufferings of humanity. This is a good thing. Go with it. And you start to realize the difference between what you want and what you need, and you start to accept the fact that what you often want can be very detrimental to you, and it's not in your best interest in the long haul, in the big picture. I know. I've experienced that. The next stage, or the next symptom, is very basically where is it here? Oh yeah. You desire to break free. That follows right through from the last symptom. You do not want to be told what to do by anyone other than your spirit guides, and you have, as I said, control over that. You want to be free. You will not tolerate the nonsensical laws that your government has passed. You will not tolerate the unadulterated nonsense that is taught by your religious teachers. You know that whenever the government or someone in power says something, even if it's true, you could see through it and know he's telling you a minor truth, a small truth, to deceive you with a bigger truth. You've woken up. You now know no one has anything over on you. If you're a man, you know that you're the man. If you're a woman, you know that you're the woman. The next thing that's going to happen, or the 10th symptom, is basically synchronicity. Many things are going to happen that your misleaders in religion, politics, or so-called education, and especially psychology, will say is a coincidence. Folks, there are no coincidences. Coincidence is a word used by liars and fools. What is happening is a synchronicity, because we're all connected, and because you are sending out vibrations that you're an awakened individual others who are awakened will come into the picture. Strange things will happen. You'll be thinking about someone, and all of a sudden that person will call. You'll be thinking about another person, and all of a sudden when you go out, you'll run into that person, and you haven't seen that person in a long time. That's a synchronicity. Many of these are going to happen. Go with the flow. Know that it's all happening for a reason. Why it's happening is for the greater good. That's all, folks. And I suggest you see, or hear, I should say, the video, The 50 Spiritual and Cosmic Laws of the Universe. Just put into YouTube the Cosmic and Spiritual Laws of the Universe. It's on my Facebook page. I'll probably post it again. But it's very beneficial. So now you know you're not crazy if you're waking up. Who's crazy is the people that are telling you that you're crazy, but they just can't admit it. That's all.
All right. That was Russell Pappalardo, the Mighty Phoenix, from his Facebook page. It's all linked up on my page, freeamerican.com. Good morning, Russell.
Good morning, Clayton. How you doing today?
Well, I'm doing all right, I suppose. For someone that's awake, I still, have my doubts whether I'm crazy or not. It's like somebody told me one time, if it's statistically impossible for all of the things that have happened to you to happen to someone. So, I got to tell you, I have doubts, of whether I'm sane or not. I mean, do I just imagine all of this? Am I awake, or am I still dreaming here?
Yeah, I could answer that question. I know for certain. I have ascertained, it's been proven that I am certifiably sane, and the world, the masses, are truthfully insane. We live in a large insane asylum where the inmates have taken control. The fact remains that the world is in a terrible place, a terrible situation, because of people who want to be in power over others. Unfortunately, these Zionists, and the Zionists are in power now, and other times it was another group. In the future, it may be another group. The whole deal is this: evil has to be kept in check, in balance. If our misleaders were just idiots and didn't know what they were doing, and they weren't evil, they just erred, whether you say potato, I say potato, then they would have made a lot of mistakes in our favor, but they haven't made a one. Not one. Every act, every law that has been passed, and especially those under the guise of the common good, have been passed to enslave us. Every so-called mistake they said they made wasn't a mistake. These people are shrewd, they're astute, their acumen is extremely high. They don't make mistakes when it comes to running a country. They know the implications if they do, and their goal is to seek power. And what they do is they put the masses asleep through chemicals, fluoride in the water, aluminum. I can go on and on. We've done this before. I don't want to bore our listeners out there, but they also keep you asleep through false flag terror attacks and make you think that a foreign enemy is invading your country, so you all stick together and forget about the real evil that the government is perpetrating on you. This is how the government works. When they tell you a truth, like I said in that video, when they tell you a truth, it's always an unimportant truth, or they're telling you the truth in order to deceive. And any great salesman out there, any closer, a big-ticket, one-call closer who had the ability to go in someone's house and sell them $20,000 to $50,000 on that night and that night only, and to counter all objections, like I have, anyone knows that I'm right. Because great salesmen, great closers, tell the truth in order to deceive. They tell you a sandwich lie. They tell you a little unimportant truth so that you could identify with. They tell you a big lie. And then when they're a little doubtful about believing you, you tell them another truth that's unimportant that they can identify when they say, you know, he's really a good guy. He must be right. And that's what you folks do out there with your misleaders. Your misleaders are trained salesmen. They're trained in Dale Carnegie. They're trained in etiquette. They are liars. They're wolves in fine haberdashery. And when you wake up, you start to realize this. No, Clayton, you're not insane. You're very sane, and that's the problem. You're sane in an insane asylum where everybody else is crazy.
Yeah,
they don't want to admit out there. They have cognitive dissonance. They have Stockholm syndrome, etc., and so forth. Go ahead, Clay.
All right. I really didn't know what you were going to talk about, but I had this little clip here sitting on standby, and the lyrics, they say, are by Barbara Finkelsteinberg, but I don't know that that's true. And the tune is performed by six Shiska Goddess, but I don't know if the lyrics are going to be plain. I'm going to try to read along with it, and so you can hear it, because the lyrics are what's important here. Media, so hypnotizing, never do a fact check, no second opinion, a spell cast, mesmerizing numbers, Kabbalistic, many false statistics. We want you afraid. Without the media cover, our power would be overstudied. Your DNA to know what scares you. To gain control of this world, we took control of information. All we publish is lies and nobody knows. It's the key to our might. TTV, infecting your subconscious, filling your head with poison fakery. Actors, not victims, your mind's abduction. Our thoughts are alien, promoting all that's foreign stories, so unnatural it's unbelievable, borderline moronic. This illusion gives us the power to use green screens and Photoshop magic. Your blind belief is tragic. To maintain control of this world, we supply all information with the mass of closed eyes. We can stem the flow and orchestrate the next fight. TTV, infecting your subconscious, fill your head with poison fakery. You're the only victim, your mind's for abduction. Our thoughts are alien, promoting all that's foreign. Story so unnatural, it's unbelievable. Our media rule is international, controlled at all levels. It's easy to see who we are. We create your reality and rely on your naivety to expose this, and we will fall. TTV, infecting your subconscious, fill your head with poison fakery. Fakery, you're the only victim, your mind's for abduction. The thoughts are alien, promoting all the foreign stories. So unnatural, it's unbelievable, it's unbelievable, it's unbelievable. Your thoughts are alien, promoting all the foreign stories. So unnatural, it's unbelievable. put that up on my Facebook page, which is a Free American 69. And
who makes it?
Katie.
Who is singing that song?
It's somebody named Siska, and Katy Perry, I think, is who put that up.
All right, Katy Perry. She's a Illuminati. Let me ask you this: all those words that you were speaking were the lyrics of the song?
Yes. Yes. What did I do here? What happened here? Did I lose you, Russell? Alright. What happened here? Yeah, I lost Russell here. Alright, where did you go here, Russell? Alright, I've lost Russell here. Come on, Russell, call back in. Katy Perry started out wanting to be a gospel rock singer. Alright. I got you back now, Russell?
Can you hear me?
I can now. You hung up here.
I don't know what happened. I was just disconnected. And then when I pressed the 1 to get... Go ahead. You dropped off of here and went on Skype, and then you went off of Skype, so I found you. I got you here. I don't know how that happened.
I got you back up here. You're on the Blog Talk thing here. Yeah, that was Katy Perry, and I put that song up if you want to be able to hear it in its entirety and read the lyrics that I was reading to you. She's talking about the media basically hypnotizing us. It's and that's exactly what's happened. As I've told people for years, they don't call it programming for nothing. All right. Good morning, David. David Kosh is now in the chat room. Up does Neil Weaver, a new guest in here. And somebody that likes your term, fine haberdashery. And we've got Adrian Hillman in the chat room. Sound like somebody actually brave enough to use their own name. Now, talking about what they do, I have this little clip pulled up, and it talks about it talks about what happened, the real reason they killed Gaddafi. They say as United States as United States imperialism continues to conquer the globe and foreign leaders continue to get murdered by government hit squads, it should surprise no one that the destruction of Libya was another globalist operation meant to destroy any piece of economic independence left in northern Africa. Now, the writer here, so don't get me wrong, Muammar Gaddafi may have been a terrible, tyrannical leader in most respects, but when it came to economic independence and fiscal leadership, Libya was one of the few countries on the African continent that had any economic prosperity. They also had a leadership that wasn't deliberately infused by the globalists to destabilize the region. Above, and here is a video with some facts in it. I'll share the facts with you. You need to know about it. In 1951, Libya was the poorest country in the world. Before the NATO invasion, Libyans enjoyed the highest standard of living in Africa. Ahead of Russia, Brazil, and Saudi Arabia. In Libya, homes are considered a human right. Newly married couples receive $50,000 to buy their own home. Electricity is free to all people. No, I'm not making this up. Gaddafi vowed to house every Libyan before his own parents. He kept his promise, and his own father died before he was able to be housed. Before Gaddafi, less than 1/5 of the Libyans were literate. Now education is free and high quality, and the literacy rate much higher. Healthcare is also free and high quality. And if Libyans cannot find the education or health care they need in Libya, then the Libyan government funds them to go abroad to access it. All loans are interest-free, 0% by law, and I'm sure this film was made when Gaddafi was still in power, because I'm seeing pictures of him in motorcade, people waving to him. And now they killed him in the street, shoving a knife up his ass and doing more humiliating things to end this. And our media here tried to make you think this was good that we were doing this. This was good that people were attacking Libya, that we were bombing Libya.
Clay.
Yes, sir.
Well, let me interject, and I'm going to clear the air on this Gaddafi thing. And if anyone doubts me, they could call in, and I will debate with you. A debate you can't win, because I know the facts about Muammar Gaddafi. First of all, in the early 80s, when Ronald Reagan, that piece of shit actor, a B actor, who was never president, George Bush was the actual president. but he had the title of vice president, and he told Reagan exactly what to say, and what Reagan did and said was on the orders of the Zionist Jews, because Poppy Bush, was another puppet for the Jews. I was in the siding business at that time, and I would sell vinyl siding and windows. And I sold bathrooms and kitchens, but it was primarily windows and siding. And it was a sales organization, like the movie Tin Men. And the people I dealt with, who I got the supplies from, and finance companies happened to be Jewish. One of them was an actual good guy. But they set me up with a subcontractor by the name of Mario Anaxagora. This guy, we hit it off very good. He was a badass type guy with charm, like myself. Big guy, knew the business, knew it well, and he was from Libya and Greece. So we hit it off very well because he knew I was part Greek. He told me the truth about Gaddafi. He told me Gaddafi is a national hero. He served in Gaddafi's army when he was there. He was the most benevolent leader, the most gracious, the most magnanimous leader that you could have. And he didn't believe in central banks. He wanted money that was backed up by gold, and that's the reason they eventually killed him. Now, you were told by your Jewish-controlled media, and you fools out there who doubt me, Google it. The Jews own all 6 of the 7 corporations in the United States, the media corporations in the United States, and the 7th is owned by Rupert Murdoch, who's a Zionist and is probably a Maranzano Jew. Google the term Maranzano Jew, but I'll give you a hint. It's Jews who changed their name to Christians. So all the media of the United States is Jewish. How about the world? 96% of the world media is owned by Jewish corporations. And the Jew is a notorious liar, especially the Ashkenazi Jew, the non-Semitic Jew, who converted to that religion in the 5th century A.D. In ancient times, they were known as the peoples of the sea, then the Khazars. I don't want to go through that. I've done it before. But Muammar Gaddafi and Mario, let me tell you something about Mario, this guy who used to do he had about 38 Greeks working for him. He had 3 crews. This guy was as honorable as honor could come. He was for real. All he expected from you was to tell him the truth. He wanted to get paid at the end of a job. If it was finance, unless there was a slight problem, he understood. He waited a couple of weeks. He was the man. He told me that Muammar Gaddafi was really and truthfully a great leader. And it's very obvious he was a great leader because he threw out the so-called central banks and came up with the dinar, which is a gold-backed currency. So anything you hear on your media, from CNN to BBC to Fox, trust me, Fox, you're being Fox 5 in the rear end or CNN in the mouth whenever you listen to the media. Wake up. Turn off that TV set. You see, folks, what happens? I talked about spiritual awakening. When you get awake, you resent the fact that someone is trying to infringe upon your free will, but there's something you have to do in that case. You can't get out of whack. You can't get out of control. You could speak about it, but you have to understand a cardinal rule of the universe. And to understand it, you have to realize, which you often wonder about. You all know out there, our listeners, our real listeners, that there's a creator, a God. So you say to yourself, well, why doesn't God step in and change everything? Well, that's because we are God. We are expressions of God, and God gave us all free will. So when that mother fracker, that Jew, or that Chavez Goy, those who serve the Jews on TV tells you a lie, or a politician tries to pass a law to infringe upon your free will, unfortunately, he has the right, because that's him or her free will. But you have the right to stop them. And that's where the line is drawn. You want to be a slave? Obey your government. Listen to your media. go to school, pay your taxes, get married, have kids, support them when they get divorced, and now repeat after me. I am free. Who the frack are you folks kidding? The greatest slave to own is the slave who thinks he's free. And there are none more falsely, more hopelessly enslaved than those who think they're free. And that is the American people, because you've been conditioned over many years. Your parents were conditioned, your grandparents were conditioned, because you saw that fucking Statue of Liberty that should be broken in half. It's a joke. It represents an ancient goddess. And it represents the liberties that the United States would take upon you. Take away your liberties over the ensuing years. It was given to us by the French Freemasons, I believe in the 1850s, around 1853. I won't attest to it. But I'm usually right, as most of you are starting to get the picture. Just like the vaccines. Today I posted on a book from British Check TV a thing about the vaccinate, about the flu shot. You want to get a flu shot? You know what's in it? Go to my Facebook page. Phoenix Speaks 1. That's the number 1. Yeah, find out about your doctors. You think your doctors are out to help you? Wake the frack up. And how about the blood pressure medication? I'll post that tonight. Another scam. The cholesterol hoax. Another scam. You're told to eat egg whites? Bullshit. I eat 18 eggs a week. Well, I'm sorry, 14. And I guarantee you, those of you who only eat egg whites and listen to your government and don't have salt where you need the iodine, you sure as shit don't look like me, even if you're 40 and I'm 68. Why do I look so fracking good? Why? Because I have a connection. I'm awake. And I don't believe one word, one iota of what they tell me on a TV or a media or anything mainstream. Anything that the Jews put their filthy rabbit hands in. No way will I believe it. Even if it's the truth, because I know they're telling me the truth to set me up for the big kill. Hey, I know how to set somebody up with a few minor truths. And then with the big kill, and then another minor truth. So they swallow the whole sandwich, the whole lie. You know, folks, I'm a master of it. Oh,
good propaganda is probably 90% of the truth. And what's
yeah, it has to be a lot of truth.
The way they work it, it's really not what they tell you, it's what they don't tell you.
That's what you have to look for. You got to read in between the lines. The details are often hidden, but as Holmes said to Watson, the devil is in the details.
Now, let's go. If you were living in Libya, or if this country was being run like Libya, we would have gold-backed currency, or we would have United States notes like Kennedy tried to issue, which of course is why they killed him. But this whole
reasons. Go ahead.
This in Libya, if you buy a new car, the government pays 50% of the price.
Why that doesn't happen here, Clay?
What's that?
It doesn't happen here because the American people are greedy, filthy pigs that only care about instant gratification. And all of our leaders who pass the laws are sociopaths. So they want to just boast of their income, their power, and their shekels. And the only way they could do that is to stop you from getting them. So they ain't going to pay not only for a house. In fact, in America, you buy a house, you pay for 3 over 30 years.
That's right. And in Libya, when this peace was made here, the price of gasoline was 14 cents. 14 cents.
Clay, I remember in the Bronx in 1973, me and my cousin were selling check writers. He had a business, Interstate Check Writers, and I used to work with him. I was great at getting a business owner to give me his check writer and give him a brand new one, saying we were going to check it out to replace it. And I was doing 7, 8 machines a day I would pull. And here we are on the gas line with the permit to get gas. And the gas is, I believe, 34 cents a gallon. And my cousin says to me, I says, wow, Walter, it looks like it's going to go to 50. He said, Russell, trust me, in this country you're going to see a day where that gas is $1 a gallon. $1 a gallon. I mean, come on, you know what I'm saying? Today, people have been paying as close to $5 a gallon in some areas, because this is what they do. They stage false gas shortages, false this. They blame it on the usual culprit, the usual suspects, the Arabs, who are so innocent, it's sad. And it's always the Jews behind it. You can always smell the Jew if you open your nostrils. If you open your eyes, you'll always find the Jew if you're going to follow the money. There's a Jew in the works all the time.
Hey, let me toss out a few more facts here. Any Libyan wishing to become a farmer is given free use of land, a home, equipment, livestock, and seeds.
You know, just hearing you say this, I wasn't aware of you know, to the extent of how Libya operates. But just hearing this makes my blood boil. Makes me my antipathy grow into hatred to anybody who works for the United States government. And the truth of the matter is, I feel an out-and-out disgust to anyone who believes them what a politician says. I have an utter disgust. I feel this is a worthless human being, a degenerate, a follower, a cattle, a sheep, and a loweye. If you believe what your government tells you, you can never hang out with me. And the women, I wouldn't give a shit if you look like Farrah Fawcett in her prime. I wouldn't touch you or go near you. And that's for money, too. I still wouldn't. If you were one of those who ascribe to what your government or your religious teachers teach, you disgust me. Really do.
Well, you know, one of the things that I've talked about on this show...
If you farm your own food here, they want to throw you in jail.
One of the things that I've talked about on this show this whole week are the fact that the lawyers, it's lawyers that become your politicians. Most of your, 90% of your politicians, of your representative, of your congressmen, of your senators are lawyers. And they work for the British Accredited Registry. And in Libya, on the 1st of July in 2011, so this isn't too long ago, 1.7 million people assembled in Green Square, Tripoli, to show defiance against the NATO bombing of Libya.
Tell them about the 13th Amendment.
The 13th Amendment.
The missing
Yeah, the missing 13th Amendment. They fought the war, I believe it was 1812. They did, or 1810, one of those two. That to lose that 13th Amendment, which barred anyone that took a title of nobility, like a lawyer who takes a title Esquire, to work for a foreign country, England, the United Kingdom, which is the ones that are responsible for giving away Palestine when they had no right to do. They tried to form two world governments the League of Nations, and then they succeeded with the League of Nations did not get into effect. It was not supported by two countries, Russia and the United States. So what they did to Russia is kill the Tsar and set up the Soviet Union, and what they did here was give us the Federal Reserve, the central bank, fifth plank on the Communist Manifesto. And back to the... What?
The Jews have had control of the British Parliament since the 1600s, since the days of Cromwell.
Yeah, they murdered the king. Just the same way they murdered the Tsar.
They control the king. The king is nothing. They control the king.
Those people that 1.7 million, that represented around 95% of the population of Tripoli, and they all met in the street. And about 1/3 of the entire population of Libya. And they were protesting against NATO. The Libyan central bank is state-owned, and unlike all the banks in the West, is not owned by Rothschild and issues debt-free money. In the 1990s, Libya was accused of being responsible for the Lockerbie bombing of Pan Am 103. Another 9/11. It has transpired. It has transpired that the U.S. paid witnesses at the trial $4 million each to testify against the accused Libyan men. Yes, they were paid to lie and have since recanted their evidence.
You know,
Gaddafi was also working to change payment for Libya's oil away from the U.S. dollar. And I might add, I don't know if this film covers it, but he also constructed a pipeline to bring fresh water to Libya from deep within the desert.
Yeah. You know Brother Nathaniel, right?
Yes.
Well, he has a thing on Jeff to be free. I'm going to post it later about how Trump got plans for America. Trump got the green light to launch his campaign in order to knock Rand Paul and Ron Paul out of the race. Trump got the green light to launch his campaign in order to knock them out of the race. Don't you know that Sheldon Adelson and the Republican Jewish coalition call the shots? There's none they hate more than the Pauls.
Well, I'm not a fan of Rand Paul. Ron was a good man. He was on my show several times. And Gaddafi was going to the gold African dinar, and I believe that was also being spread to Iraq also.
Oh, it is spread through the whole region, because once you have a gold-based economy, everything is, you're not going to have a deficit. You're not going to go into debt because you're not using fiat or debt-based currency.
That's right.
You're not using promissory notes. You're using a real symbolic. It would be as if you were taking all your gold, locking it in the storehouse in 8 times, and then you come in to hand in your gold, and you get a receipt from the proprietor stating that you just gave him $100,000, and that certificate is like a bill. It's a receipt. It's a check. It's not a promissory note as if your dollar bill is. Your dollar is a note. It's a promise to pay. All your money is fiat money. You know, it's amazing. This is how miserable and low-life these Jews are who run it. Do you realize what they did to our silver coins, our quarters and our half dollars and our dimes and our nickels?
Took the silver out of it.
That to tin.
Yep.
It's mind-boggling. This is how greedy and evil they are.
By the way, that move to the dinar,
Hey, folks,
that move to the dinar prompted Sarkozy to call Libya a threat to the financial security of mankind, a threat to the financial security of the Jews. Really.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, that's what it really is. A threat to Jewish prosperity. Fuck those Jews.
One of the first acts of the Libyan rebels, the ones that murdered Gaddafi, was to create a new central bank. A new central bank that was owned by the Rothschilds, just as ours in the West are. So all of this prosperity that Gaddafi created, they took it away with his murder and set up a central bank. And that's what is happening in Libya. This is what happened in Iraq. And there's one holdout there, and that's Iran. And that they have the science and the scientists there to do far more than just build an atomic bomb. The scientists there, Kish, I believe is Kishi Foundation, has developed anti-gravity. They've developed a UFO. They're far ahead of us. And the Rothschild family, folks, in case you didn't know, are estimated to own over half of the world's wealth.
I would think it was more than that.
Rothschild-owned banks create money out of thin air and sell it to the people at interest. I don't know why you can't understand that, folks. You know, we're not talking about overthrowing the government. I told people, you know, they called me anti-government. I said, I'm the most pro-government guy that you got out there. I want the government promised me by the Constitution, promised us by our founding fathers, that gave us the Bill of Rights. And they promised us a Republican form of government, a republic here, not a democracy that's two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner. And if you can't understand that you're being ruled by these bankers, your children and your wives are being raked over the coals and raped by the bankers, and it's the banksters that are financing the influx of illegals, of Mexicans, of Guatemalans, of Muslims into this country, so they can rape your women, enslave your children. And this is what I am trying to do with this radio show, with this website, with the Free American magazine, that I basically quit publishing because I couldn't get any advertisers, I couldn't get any support, thanks to the Jews, the ADL, the Southern Poverty Law. And when I did get financing, I had a man by the name of Casey Nethercott call me up and tell me to come down to the border, come down to Douglas, Arizona, and meet him. And he wanted to finance my whole operation, Free American. He said people need to know what's going on with these illegals 10 years ago, over 10 years ago. And I said, Casey, it's expensive. He said, Clay, I got $1.5 million in one account. Money is not a problem. They shot him while I was driving down to Douglas. Didn't kill him, but then Morris Dees from Southern Poverty Law threatened the county of Jim Hogg County, threatened the county sheriff with suing them if they didn't retry him on the charge of pistol whipping 2 illegal aliens. While he was in jail in court on that bogus charge, and he actually got time in Texas prison. They took that 75-acre ranch away from him and gave it to the 2 illegals. That story, his story was on 60 Minutes. They just didn't tell you that he was shot coming out of Safeway with Clay Douglas's breakfast. And
he should have came out and shot everyone who had to do with his going out of way when he came out. He had every right to do so. Get rid of all of them.
Now, one of the other things that I tried to do when I had the magazine and I had a little bit of money, I raised several $1 million to buy a town down in southern New Mexico. The town was called Playas. I put it on the cover of my Free American magazine. Started raising money. You could buy a home. I had a swimming pool, a bowling alley, everything. And I almost had the money. And then the Jews went down, got on the television, told people that I was coming down there to shoot illegal aliens coming across the border, and they screwed the deal. They killed the deal. And then I believe it was the governor, Richardson, got on the tube and said, well, we got to buy Libya. They turned it into a FEMA training center. So, you know, it's not just a spiritual battle here, Russell. I mean, I started the militia after Waco. I was going to buy a town of Playas. I came up with a plan for Liberty Villages, which is still a viable plan. But then suddenly you couldn't, you know, my whole theme here was if we can grow our own food and generate our own energy, we don't need the banksters, we don't need the government. And what happened then? They started going after people that were planting gardens. They started going after anybody that was trying to get off of the grid, trying to generate their own power, taking homes away from people that were not hooked up to the grid, not hooked up to the power company, not paying the power companies. And what this means, the way they do this, that means we never have enough money to pay back what is owed. It's a Ponzi scheme of the magnitude that most people can't even understand. If they loan us the money and they charge interest on it, where do we get the money to pay the interest back? So we and our unborn children are made debt slaves to Rothschild banking interest. They did it to us 100 years ago. Now they're doing it to every country in the world, like Libya, that we're just beginning to get free. Can't have that. Unlike our leaders, Cameron in England, Obama, Sarkozy and all, Gaddafi refused to sell his people out.
You got to excuse me a minute. I got to grab coffee.
That's all right. Libya was debt-free, folks. Without the tyranny of Rothschild control. So are you beginning to see why Gaddafi gets such a positive response from his people? And who is behind the NATO bombing of a free and sovereign people? Libyans have much that we do not have in the UK, the USA, and the EU. They have a leader, had a leader, who has integrity and courage and who has worked in their best interest. And not the Rothschild best interest. Libyans shared in the wealth of their country, free from the shackles of usury and Rothschild's banking interest. Without the tyranny of Rothschild control over the issuance of money, we could all live as wealthy people. We have been literally robbed of trillions by Rothschild bankers and their rent boy politicians. We've been raped and enslaved, folks. Just as Libya was raped and enslaved. Again, this film was made while Gaddafi was still in power, and they said that Libya will be raped and enslaved if we don't stop this crime against humanity. It happened. It's estimated that 30,000 Libyans have been killed by NATO and its rebels. Gaddafi believed in direct democracy as was laid out in his book, The Green Book.
Can't believe it, the coffee machine never went on.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Now I got to start it again. I got to run in a minute as soon as it's ready. It's just, what a drag.
Gaddafi believed...
When you talk about Libya, you realize, and you talk about what a man like Gaddafi, or you talk about a man named Putin, you realize what a real leader is. I mean, it's disgraceful that you have leaders, wimpy little faggot type guys like Barack Obama, George Bush, Bill Clinton, George Bush Sr., Gerald Ford, Lyndon B. Johnson. These are disgusting people.
And
these are wimpy men. How could anyone look in the eye and say, Commander-in-Chief, you could lock Gaddafi in a room with Clinton, Bush Senior, Bush Junior, and the the fag that we have now, Barack Obama, and Gaddafi will walk out of that room because he was a man. Putin's a man. These United States is disgusting. You have politically correct Aloha, Robo Sapiens, soulless tears. You have the chaff that Jesus spoke of. You have the stupides. You have sheeple and cattle in charge. This is disgusting.
And how do they get in there, Russell? The way they get in, and I've gone through this. I had a real candidate for president.
Oh, it's so easy.
Charles Collins was a real man, a Rhodes Scholar, brilliant man, wealthy, and yet every time he got up to speak, every cameraman on stage turned their cameras off, so nobody in America ever knew Charles Collins was running for president.
Oh, well, Clay, you can't have a leader in America. You cannot have a statesman. As long as you have the Jews owning the Israeli lobby, or what is known as AIPAC, that controls all the elections, picks and chooses the candidates, has their media give the candidate they want the airtime. You know, of course, they fund both sides like they do in a war. They would fund, for example, Germany, and they fund the United States. But they fund the United States a little more because they know who they want to win. But then they make money off both on the interest. The same thing with the political system. The Jews own that, so they fund the Republican candidate a certain amount of money, and the Democratic candidate a bunch of money. And then they fix the polls. Everything is rigged. It's selection. It's not an election. It's an illusion of choice. You think you're voting for someone. You think you're going to make a difference. You want to make a fucking difference? Then get a blog talk radio station and have the balls or the chutzpah, as the Jews would say, to do what I and Clay do. Speak out about it. And don't worry about a watch list. Put them on your watch list.
Well, that's exactly what we do, and yet...
Hold on. Let me go get the coffee.
I'm
very aggravated today about the whole system. The way things are
I don't get a donation. I don't get any support whatsoever for doing the show. And I put my life on the line here. You're putting your life on the line. And we don't get any support from these goddamn Americans. I don't, all I get in the chat room, I get 4 or 5 good people, and the rest of them, I get trolls in here. People saying this and saying that. That's right. Hillary's daughter, Chelsea, is whose father is Webb Hubble. Alright, let's just look back here in the chat room for just a moment. Here's somebody that says,
I'm back.
Here's somebody that says, I'm honored to be on a watch list ever since I supported Clay. I've been having trouble listening to him. Guess it's hitting home for me. And what else we got here?
Who is that, David?
No, that's somebody on here called the Wig. It's I don't have his name off the top of my on the top of my head. Yeah, Fine Haberdashery said we're not all trolls. No, 1 or 2 of you has sent some money via my PayPal, clay@freeamerican.com. All right, let's take a call here. 985 area code. Hello, who are you? What can we do for you?
That's David.
That's right, Russell. It is me again. Are you guys doing well?
Yes, sir.
No, I'm in an aggravated mood this morning. I really am about everything that's going on. These stupid people out there believing these candidates who talk shit on TV and nonsense, and it's all a stage act, it's all a play, and they fall for it every time. They fall for it every time. They go out for the candidate of their choice, whether the candidate wins or not. They get exactly what was told would never happen. They get more laws, more restrictions on their freedom, and they don't want to wake up. They're just disgusting. They're they're looking for a savior when they don't realize that they're the savior.
Let me tell you why I'm scared as well, because the past few days I'm posting things on my Facebook page. All of a sudden, links, whether they be from Veterans Today or in any other site you and Clay get your information from, that within, I don't know, 2 minutes after putting them up, somebody took them down.
Now, I've had that a million times. That's why you got to keep putting them up. And you know what they're doing now? Listen to this, folks, about Facebook. Facebook is so evil, and Mark Zuckerberg is little wuss, such a little mama's boy. His real name is Greenberg. They're very good friends, the Greenbergs and the Rockefellers, who are Marizano Jews, are very close. He opened up. He's only about 22 years old. He's only about 22 years old. He's younger than they say he is. Everything is a farce. I have it up on Facebook. You saw it, but here's what they're doing now. You post. Let's say you're going to do a video, and you know the way I do it. I do a video, and then I post 2 comments as part 1 and 2. When I go to post a comment on my own thing, it says, the post you're trying to comment, and you do not have permission to comment on that. Now, that would normally intimidate someone, so I disregard it, I press enter, and I get their bullshit off, and then I press it, and then it goes through. They're just trying to aggravate you. Don't let them aggravate you. Keep on pushing, keep on pushing on. These Jews will cave in. They're all mama's boys. That's all they are. Without the backing of the Chavez Goy Christian, the stupid, dumbed-down whore who believes he's serving God's chosen people, the Jews are nothing. Once people realize that the Jews are chosen only by a false god named Yahweh or Jehovah, and they were chosen to pull down and destroy the nations, which they could read in Deuteronomy, then the ball changes hands. Then the ball is in our court. You got to wake them up. You got to give them literature indirectly to read about the Jew. The Jew is the world's foremost problem, as Henry Ford said. And once the Jew is gotten rid of, trust me, it'll be someone else. Another group that becomes the world's foremost problem. Why? Because we were made. Our bodies, not our spirit, our body was designed by predators, by archons, who designed us to be a predator or a mind parasite to prey on prey on others. Of course, it didn't work at first, but when we were put in these bodies, our spirits, eventually we forgot who we were. Like Peter forgot who he was, and he had to wake up to realize he was a god, and that all this shit that they are festering him with and impregnated him with through DNA and all of this stuff, you know, psych affects the soma and soma vice versa, are only detrimental to him. The goal of the enslavers is of trying to make a buck. That's all it is. Keep you wrapped up trying to make a buck, keep you wrapped up fighting each other, unless they want you to get together to fight their enemy, the Jewish enemy. You know, I saw the best post. There's an image, a poster image of a soldier telling a little boy, you know, when they come to the house to tell you that your parent died in a war, and he's telling the kid, "Don't cry, son. Your daddy's in heaven. He died for the Jews. It's the post I ever saw.
Well, let me finish up this. I've got
Go ahead, Dave.
This film was made while Gaddafi was still alive, and he said it says that he believes that parliamentary democracies are inherently corrupt. Another thing he's right about. And that people can and should represent themselves. After believing the lies about this man for all of my life, his book shook me, the filmmaker says. I cannot just sit by any longer and watch how individuals, groups, the man who made this film says, I cannot sit by any longer and watch how individuals, groups, and countries are demonized. And this is exactly what's happened to me, Russell. And that's what this fucking Rabbi Rick Scumley, well, put me on. Take my call. Call me. Why? So he can tell everybody, you know, why he can spread his lies around. Oh, Russell's a Jew. Russell the fat Jew. Russell Clay's a, you know, I'm just not going to listen to this crap anymore. So I'll never have him on. Never have him on my show. And I'll kick him out of the chat room anytime. And these people are being destroyed by our criminal governments. All run by Jews, run by lawyers. Our media is run by Jews. And he goes on to say, and then watch the media protect those responsible for crimes against humanity. I refuse to pay taxes to the criminals responsible for this. I stopped doing that 20 years ago, folks. Folks, you need to stop paying for their bombs, refuse to pay your taxes, refuse to learn how to generate your own type of energy, how to recharge your phones. Matter of fact, I just bought the instructions for a little Tesla generator. Make a donation, I'll share it with you. Don't pay for the propaganda. Stop paying the BBC license fee. This man from England says we must show solidarity for the Libyan people. Sorry, my son, you're a little too late. We're a little too late. But if we don't show some solidarity for Americans like me and Russell that are trying to tell you the truth, trying to let you know what's going on, it's going to happen to us here in America. Somehow maybe they'll succeed next time they try to kill me in a motorcycle accident. Next time they get me into a hospital. Hope it don't happen, but it could. David, what do you think? You've donated.
I really do think that I think everything we're seeing is moving in closer on these Jews. I say that because yesterday I watched a video called Jews Panic over internet reaction and the idea people are getting about Jews. Now I can tell it was a Israeli or Hebrew-based documentary trying to defend themselves because they said they play it out like 90% of people who are anti-Zionist are anti-Semitic. Like anti-Semitic is on the rise.
There we go again, the anti-Semitic bullshit. You know, you're right, David. Anti-Semitism or anti-Semitic is an oxymoronic phrase, as is the phrase Judeo-Christian, because Judeo and Christian are at opposite ends of the spectrum, like I said many times. And anti-Semitic, how could you be anti-Semitic and call anti-Semitic of your feelings against the Jews when you like them, when the Jews are not Semitic? There are, like I've said many times, they're a Turco-Finnish Mongoloid race from the steppes of Eastern Europe. They're either Gog or Gog. They were called Khazars before they converted to Talmudism in the 6th or 7th century. Prior to that, they were Burghers and Magars, the descendants of the Hun, they're Huns. Prior to that, they were the peoples of the sea in times. Prior to that, they were the descendants of Ashkenaz. That's where you get the name Ashkenazi. Ashkenaz was the son of Gomer, who was the daughter of Japheth, non-Semitic. Every Bible, except for 2, will tell you these are the lands of the Gentiles, the peoples of the sea, except for the Freemasons' Bible and the Jewish Torah, because they want... The Jew today is the Ashkenazi, and they want you to think they're Semitic. That's why they want to kill off the Arabs. And there's a very, very few Sephardic Jews, and the black Jews, and which are very few in Ethiopia, and of course the Armenians. They want to kill anybody who's really Semitic, so they could claim they're Semitic. And their history will be history, just like Orwell wrote about. They keep changing and changing and changing the past to suit needs. Remember, he who controls the past controls the present, and he who controls the present controls the future. You can mix up those words in 3 different ways, but the same gist. You control the past when you control the books. And who owns the books? The Jews. I want to tell you something. I said this before, and this is a joke. Listen to this. This is no joke, but it's like comical. In Texas, in fucking Texas, the Zionists, because Zionism is strong down here, believe it or not, they actually were publishing books by McGraw-Hill and teaching the kids in grammar school that the black people came to the United States as immigrant workers to better their condition because they couldn't make money in Africa. Well, a few parents got crazed and complained the books taken out of the school. You imagine the chicanery of these Jews? These very Jews who ran the African slave trade, the entire thing, sent this stooge, Christopher Columbus, not Christopher Columbus. Okay, it is Christopher Columbus, but that's his real name, who was a clandestine Jew, over here with the Jews that supported him to find slaves for the Jewish slave. And you could get all that information from Walter White, 1968, African slave trade, Walter White Jr. You go to YouTube. And now they run the slave trade. They make the blacks look horrible. They make their lives look miserable. And then when they set them free and take the locks off, the physical lock, they hold them in mental slavery and rob them when they make the great music in the 40s, the 30s, the 20s, and the 50s. They rob them and rape them. Think about it. Great soul singers that done pop. It's a fault of the fucking Jew. And you're profane, and I'm in a profane mood today. Oh boy, you just don't know what's going through my mind today. Let me tell you something. It's terrible what they have done. They run this slave trade, and then say there was no slave trade. They literally say that the blacks came here to get a better job. What shit is that. Tell that to a black man. Tell that to Joe Frazier or somebody like or Dwayne Kwame Mohammed. He'll knock the shit out of you 1, 2, 3. That's what I'd like to unleash.
This Gaddafi film.
Or Dwight Mohammed Kwame on these presidents. And I'll join Dwight and Joe. Go ahead.
This guy from England that made this film on Gaddafi a few years back, he says, if we sit by and watch these crimes against humanity and do nothing, then we are complicit. And one day, it will be our turn.
Absolutely.
And that's what's happening, folks. This is, you know, and of course he ends this with, fuck NATO. Fuck the UN.
What a criminal.
Fuck the New World Order.
You know, when you talk about World War II,
it's time to act, people. It's time to act. It's time to find our courage and rise up.
Yeah.
Mass non-compliance against the New World Order.
You hear me, Cook?
Yes, I can. Go ahead. I'm through with this.
You know, I love it when they say the United States won World War II, and then you have people like Alex Jones who say we really didn't, the Nazis won. Let's stop the bullet. The only people that won were the Ashkenazi. The Jews won World War II. First of all, there was only 3.4 million in all of Europe before the war. 6 million never died. In fact, no one was burnt alive at all in those. If it happened, if it would have really happened, we wouldn't have the problem we have today with the Jews. But it didn't happen. It's a Jewish fairy tale. It's a fucking Holocaust. And Hitler sent the wealthy Jews out to the United States for $1,000 a head and made trouble. Well, so who won? The Jews. They got to live in the United States, in Palestine, where they could court me. In Judea, which they call Israel erroneously, because the West Bank was originally ancient Israel, and it became Samaria. It had such a name that even there's a parable, the Good Samaritan, like there was one Good Samaritan. That's how disliked the Jews are around the world. Nobody likes the Jews. They don't like themselves. So they get to steal Palestine. They get the money from the UN. They get the Palestinians get jacked out by Lord whatchamacallit, what's his name? Who wrote the letter? What's his name, Clay?
What's that? Oh, Balfour Declaration, Lord Balfour.
Yeah, the Lord Balfour Declaration. And the Jews steal a foreign land. The Jews won World War II. You know what I suggest? I should take it back. It should be, you people out there should make it that everyone in this country is afraid to come out of his house and leaves this country. He has permission to only get the fuck out and go to his homeland, which is hell. These Jews are the world's foremost problem. Wherever they go, they've been expelled. They've been expelled from 109 locations, 250 AD. What? Because they're Samaritans? Because they're magnanimous? Come on, this is a rodent race.
If you can't learn from history, if you can't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it.
You're right. Go ahead, Dave. What were you going to say?
Oh. Well, I was going to say, I want to be real vulgar, man, and say, let's just say the myth of being burned alive. I really do think we should start warming up guns and put the right Jews in there. If you want to say I'm being anti-Semitic, or if I want to burn anybody alive, hell.
Yeah, but Dave, watch how you talk. Okay, I'll talk to you later on this. You see, the problem is this, and there's a big part of that. If somebody went around really burning Jews, they're creating bad karma. You're not supposed to burn them.
The right
You're
Jews,
supposed to stop them. In other words, you're supposed to stop them from infringing upon you. And with extreme prejudice to the point where they can't anymore. But you don't want to inflict any more pain on them, because revenge is a double-edged sword. You have to defend yourself, and you have to do it aggressively. The best defense is a strong offense. But once your opponent is crippled, you make sure that he can't hurt you anymore. Take out his tongue. Take out his fingers so he can't write. But as far as burning him and the extreme, no. You have to stop the problem. And if you kill him, he'll only reincarnate because he's condemned to the wheel of reincarnation, and then he'll come back to get you.
Well,
it's a tough call because
it's what I've told you.
But let you know that by listening.
Pardon me?
I said, right you are about that. I mean, I should know by listening to you past few days.
It's what I've told you
but I understand.
all the time.
It reminds me of it reminds me of Star Wars. You know, so you strike me down, I should rise up and become more powerful than you ever.
Yeah, that's what Ben Kenobi told Darth. You know.
Right.
Strike me down, I'll come back more powerful, and he did, and that's what happens. Because he comes back. He didn't come back in reincarnated form in that. He came back as a spirit guide to Luke Skywalker. That was a very good scene, by the way. Very good scene. And the whole concept of the Force. See, there's the Force. The Force is there. The Force is power. Once you know who you are, and you baptize yourself and wash out all the bullshit that you've been told over the years by your misleaders in religion, politics, and, of course, the pubic education system, the public fool system, as Clay likes to call it. I like to use the word pubic indoctrination. But once you wipe out all of that dogma, then you connect, then you can move on. Now, by the way, let me just add something. All those photos of the burnt people allegedly in Germany, those were actually photos of Russian people, white Russian Christians, who were burnt alive and murdered in Soviet Russia during the Bolshevik Communist Jew Revolution. Because, you know, there was never a Russian Revolution. The Russian people never revolted. It was the Jews that revolted to get revenge for the Tsar. So wait it is, folks. You want to keep believing the horse shit, then say a slave. You want to keep believing and praying to Yahweh or Jehovah, who's laughing at you, who probably is dead right now? No, you're better off praying to Lucifer, because when you pray to Jesus, you're really praying to Lucifer, according to the wise.
Well, let me first of all.
Like I said, Jesus is the light bearer. Lucifer got the bad name. Lucifer ain't Satan. And the Masons don't worship Lucifer. They just say they do. They worship Jabulon, a Satan, an adversary of creation. Problem with you folks out there is that you're dum-dums. You're told the word means a certain definition and you swallow it. Instead of going out, going into a good bookstore or going to Amazon and get the most expensive book that you can afford on etymology, the meaning of the root meaning of words, and you'll find out that all the definitions that you've been taught in modern times are a lie. Government, we've been through many times.
People my age will swallow garbage, but not their pride. I mean, I live it every day.
I understand. Well, you know what? Same people my age will swallow garbage. They won't swallow their pride. Once they let you know that to use the ego should be used to create an aura, an act, to get people to listen. But you shouldn't be egotistical, because you can't take yourself too seriously, because even though you're a god, so is everybody else. That's the problem. That's what we run into. The key is to recognize those of us who are really human. Because, and I know Clay will agree with me on this, and I know you will eventually if you don't know it already now. There are many people walking around without souls. They're clones. They're extraterrestrials. They're interdimensionals. They're here. Not everybody has a soul. Not everybody has a conscience. No conscience, no soul. No soul, no conscience. You people don't want to wake up. And we try, but we can't get no satisfaction. And we do these shows without making a dime, so folks, send us a donation. Send Clay a donation, send me a donation too. We all need the money. We're doing this out of the goodness of our heart. And of course, to pay back karma for the mistakes that we've made in the past. Let's tell it like it is. I pull no punches. Is this fun doing this? Not at all. But somebody has to do it. And it takes people. It takes a guy with my eloquence, my savoir-faire, my charm. Yeah, I'm convinced of my abilities. And a man like Clay Douglas, who is literally a walking encyclopedia on conspiracy. It takes us to be able to speak it out and talk it. And Dave will be able to do the same because he's a very articulate young man. That's for certain. But it takes us. This is what we have to do. We have to do it for the highest and greatest good of all, of which we too are a part. We want to share in the rewards. We are the rainbow warriors. We are the warriors of happy prophecy. We come from many races and colors. We don't give a shit if you're purple, green, oriental, white, black. That means shit. As long as you're not a blue-blooded reptilian or an RH factor. Well, you wouldn't have a soul anyway. We're doing this for the good of posterity, for our children and their children, and their children's children, and so far on the ground. We know we can't stop evil, because where there's good, there has to be evil. Where there's evil, there has to be good. Action, reaction. There's always an opposite to everything. You wouldn't know good if there was no evil. You wouldn't know evil if there was not good. But we want to bring it back in balance. We want to wake everybody's silly ass up and let them know, like Jesus did, you are a God if you have a soul. Start acting like one. You don't need to listen to your government. It's owned by, controlled by power-hungry Jews. Power-hungry Jews who serve Satan or Satanel. Or all for the power of the shekel. You have to know that you have other choices besides the one you've been told by your by your guidance counselors in the public school system who tell you you can't do that. If anyone says you can't do that, embarrass them. Give them a verbal smack in the face and make it sting. Use the epitome of sarcasm, the epitome of wit, and make them look like the idiot that they really are. That's all I have to say.
Well, let me say something. I've told you that the biggest problem that we have is how do you fight evil without becoming evil? And I don't want to go out and kill nobody. I don't want to burn nobody. I don't want to lower myself to the level of the Jews, of the Zionists, of the dictators out there. And too many of you, you know, following the propaganda, you know, thinking your church, your God, your government is better than everyone else. It's not.
What a fucking joke.
It's not.
It certainly is not.
But are there good people out there? Yes. But you're probably going to meet them on the street, not on television. It was interesting. I got demonized for starting the militia in New Mexico. They didn't tell you I did it in the governor's office. They didn't tell you it was perfectly illegal. It was in our Constitution. They tried to make me into a terrorist, and they're doing the same thing with you right now, folks. So the media, if you're a patriot, if you believe in the Constitution, they're going to try to demonize you and make you insignificant. So they didn't want me starting a town. They didn't want me buying a town. They didn't want me starting a village. They spent a lot of money to stop anything that I was doing. And evidently they were successful, because what are you doing? David here, who's our call-in guest, he made a donation. He helped me get through this month. Without him, we might not even be able to do this show right now. When I ask for your donations, I have people going, well, what are you going to use it for? What are you going to do with it? Well, it's none of your fucking business what I'm going to do. I'm going to eat. I'm going to pay keep my internet going. I'm going to keep everything going that's going right now. I'm going to keep this radio show going. I got the Free American up there, and I've got links on it that'll share everything that we did on the show today. It's all right there. You think that's free? You think the government gives that to me? You think the government helps me? Well, actually they are. They are. It took me 50 years to get some of my benefits, and I'm still working at it. Still don't have my driver's license. I'm still working at that. But I may have to end up paying a lawyer, because I can't drive to Tucson to fight it myself in court, because I don't have a license, and I'm not taking a chance on going to jail for something I didn't do.
Say, Clay, I'd like to let your guests know that, say for instance, if there's anybody listening and their beliefs conflict with us, shame on you. But if a lot of you out there actually believe what we're saying, yes, that's much appreciated. But to me, until you start contributing just a little something, whether it's $500 or even $5, you're still a part of the problem. If you're not lending just the utmost little bit of help, you are nothing but, let's just say, you can be compared to the same people we're speaking out against, and that's all I have to say, Clay.
Well, if you're not, what really bothers me is during the last presidential election that gave us Obama, a fag transsexual, well, I'm sorry, his wife may be the transsexual, not him, but he's definitely a fag. We donated, you out there, you Americans, donated over $1 billion to the two parties, Republicans and Democrats. I think Republicans got a little bit more than the Democrats. Where did that money go? It went straight to the media companies, who then told you who they wanted for president, not you. Not you. Your voice wasn't heard, and you got the lawyers running the Congress, running this whole thing, running all these scams, and they're working for the banks. So the banks can afford to hire anybody, buy anything, do anything, because they print the money. It's like my friend Carl Klang said, if you got your very own printing press, pretty soon you can buy up the whole neighborhood. Well, that's what they've done. They bought all the companies, they bought the electric companies, they bought the gas companies, and they're making money off of you and demonizing people like me and Russell for trying to tell you the truth. And kind of like other religions, the gospel of government describes a superhuman, supernatural entity above mere mortals, which issues commandments to the peasantry for whom unquestioning obedience is a moral imperative, disobeying the commands, breaking the law, is viewed as a sin, and the faithful delight in the punishment of the infidels and the sinners, criminals, while at the same time taking great pride in their own loyalty and humble subservience to their God as law-abiding taxpayers. While the mortals may humbly beg for their Lord for favor and for permission to do certain things, it is considered blasphemous and outrageous for one of the lowly peasants to imagine himself fit to decide which of the government's God's laws he should follow and which is okay for him to ignore. Their mantra is, you can work to try to change the law, but as long as it's the law, we have to follow it. I don't go by that. Let's see what this is.
You cannot begin to imagine in how many ways the world is the opposite of what you have been taught to believe. You see the guy who sells drugs to willing customers so he can feed his family as the scum of the earth, while you see the hypocrite who gives away stolen money in the name of government as a saint. You see the guy who tries to avoid being robbed by the federal thugs as a crook and a tax cheat, but see as virtuous the politician who gives away the same stolen loot to people to whom it does not belong. You see the cop as a good guy when he drags a man away from his friends and family and throws him in prison for 10 years for smoking a leaf, and you see anyone who defends himself from such barbaric fascism as the lowest form of life, a cop killer. In reality, most drug dealers are more virtuous than any government social worker, and prostitutes have far less to be ashamed of than political whores, because they trade only with what is rightfully theirs, and only with those who want to trade with them. The upstanding, church-going, law-abiding, tax-paying citizen who votes Democrat or Republican is far more despicable and a bigger threat to humanity than the most promiscuous, lazy, drug-snorting hippie. Why? Because the hippie is willing to let others be free, and the voter is not. The damage done to society by bad habits and loose morality is nothing compared to the damage done to society by the self-righteous violence committed in the name of the state. You imagine yourselves to be charitable and tolerant when you are nothing of the sort. Even the Nazis had table manners and proper etiquette when they weren't killing people. You think you're good people because you say please and thank you? You think sitting in that big building on Sunday makes you noble and righteous? The difference between you and a common thief is that the thief has the honesty to commit the crime himself, while you whine for government to do your stealing for you. The difference between you and the street thug is that the thug is open about the violence he commits, while you let others forcibly control your neighbors on your behalf. You advocate theft, harassment, assault, and even murder, but accept no responsibility for doing so. You old folks want the government to steal from your kids so you can get your monthly check. You parents want all your neighbors to be robbed to pay for your kids' schooling. You all vote for whichever crook promises to steal money from other people to pay for what you want. You demand that those people who engage in behaviors you don't approve of be dragged off and locked up, but feel no guilt for the countless lives your whims have destroyed. You even call the government thugs your representatives, and yet you never take responsibility for the evil they commit. You proudly support the troops as they kill whomever the liars in D.C. tell them to kill, and you feel good about it. You call yourselves Christians or Jews, or claim to follow some other religion, but the truth is, what you call your religion is empty window dressing. What you truly worship, the God you really bow to, what you really believe in, is the state. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not murder, unless you can do it by way of government. Then it's just fine, isn't it? If you call it taxation and war, it stops being a sin, right? After all, it was only your God that said you shouldn't steal and murder, but the state said it was okay. It's pretty obvious which one outranks the other in your minds. Despite all the churches, synagogues, and mosques we see around us, this nation has one God and only one God, and that God is called government. Jesus taught nonviolence and told you to love your neighbor, but the state encourages you to vote for people who will use the violence of government to butt into every aspect of everyone else's life. Which do you believe? To those about to stone a woman who had committed adultery, Jesus said, "Let him who is without sin cast the first stone." But the state says it's perfectly fine to lock someone up if they do something you find distasteful, such as prostitution. Which do you believe? The Christian God says, "Thou shalt not covet," but coveting is the lifeblood of the beast that is the state. You are taught to resent, despise, and hate anyone who has anything you don't have. You clamor for the state to tear other people down, steal their property, and give it to you. And you call that fairness. The Bible calls it coveting and stealing. You are not Christians. You are not Jews. You are not Muslims. And you certainly aren't atheists. You all have the same God, and its name is government. You're all members of the most evil, insane, destructive cult in history. If there ever was a devil, the state is it. And you worship it with all your heart and soul. You pray to it to solve every problem, to satisfy all your needs, to smite your enemies, and to shower its blessings upon you. You worship what Nietzsche called the coldest of all cold monsters, and you hate those of us who don't. To you, the greatest sin is disobeying your God, breaking the law, you call it, as if anyone could possibly have any moral obligation to obey the arbitrary commands and demands of the corrupt, lying, delusional megalomaniacs who infest this despicable town. Even your ministers, priests, and rabbis, more often than not, are traitors to their own religions, teaching that the commands of human authority should supersede adherence to the laws of the gods they say they believe in. Several years ago, I heard one pompous evangelical jackass in particular pontificating on the radio that anyone who disobeys the civil authority, be it a king or any other government, is engaging in rebellion against God. Those were the exact words he used. What if the government is doing something wrong? Well, this salesman for Satan opined, that is the business of those in government, and you are still obligated to obey. Everywhere you turn, be it the state or the church, the media or the schools, you are taught one thing above all else, the virtue of subjugating yourselves to mortals who claim to have the right to rule you. It is sickening the reverence with which you speak of the liars and thieves whose feet are so firmly planted on your necks. You call the congressmen and the judges honorable, and you swoon at the magnificence of the grandiose halls they inhabit, the temples they built to celebrate the domination of mankind.
I think he's hit it right on hit the nail right on the head. What do you think, Russell?
Right on the money. Right on the money. I posted that video at least 100 times. It's awesome.
It's called anarchy. It's called anarchy. I will put that up on my Facebook also. You know, we got about 8 minutes left, folks. FreeAmerican.com is where you can make a donation, and you can go to shop.freeamerican.com. You can pick up some of the last issues of the Free American. It's I put out about 10 issues, 10 or 12 issues, since I tried to restart it. Couldn't restart it because I didn't have any advertising, didn't have any support. Now, you know, that could all change immediately. That could all change immediately if you guys get it together and realize I'm not a politician. I'm not running for office. I want to share the truth with you. You know, I want to be your media. I'm not the New York Times. I'm not. And if I'd been running the media, 75 years ago, we would still have the #1 cash crop of this country, hemp, in every state. Every farmer would be growing it, and if they grow a better variety of it, we can do more than make automobiles out of it. We can do more than burn lamps with the hemp oil. We would be healthier. And if you grow that, take the time and care to grow the psychoactive part of cannabis, the THC, containing THC, then we could be curing cancer. So many things that we can do with the plant of renown spoken of in the Bible. We are making some...
Hell, they don't want to cure cancer because then they won't make no money.
Well, that's right. That's exactly what it's all about. Making the money. We got to make the money. We got to...
About, oh.
But it doesn't have to be that way, does it, Russell?
No. Give me a second. Give me 15 seconds. Hold on.
You feel pride at being able to say you once shook a senator's hand or saw the president in person. Ah, yes, the grand deity himself, His Royal Highness, the President of the United States of America. You speak the title as if you're referring to God Almighty. The vocabulary has changed a bit, but your mindset is no different from that of the groveling peasants of old who bowed low, faces in the dirt, with a feeling of unworthiness and humility when in the presence of whatever narcissist had declared himself to be their rightful lord and master. The truth of the matter, back then and today, is that these parasites who call themselves leaders are not superior beings. They are not great men and women. They are not honorable. They're not even average. The people who earn an honest living, from sophisticated millionaire entrepreneurs to illiterate day laborers doing the most menial tasks you can imagine, those people deserve your respect. Those people you should treat with courtesy and civility. But the frauds who claim the right to rule you and demand your subservience and obedience, they deserve only your scorn and contempt. Those who seek so-called high office are the lowest of the low. They may dress better, have larger vocabularies, and do a better job of planning out and executing their schemes, but they are no better than pickpockets, muggers, and carjackers. In fact, they are worse, because they don't want to rob you of just your possessions. They want to rob you of your very humanity, deprive you of your free will, by slowly leeching away your ability to think, to judge, to act, reducing you to slaves in both body and mind. And still you persist in calling them leaders. Leaders? Where is it that you think you're going exactly that would require you to have a leader? If you just live your own life and mind your own damn business, exercising your own talents, pursuing your own dreams, striving to be what you believe you should be, what possible use would you have for a leader? Do you ever actually think about the words that you hear, the words that you repeat? You parrot oxymoronic terms such as the leader of the free world, even pretending for a moment that there is some huge journey or some giant battle that everyone in the entire nation is undertaking together that would require a leader. Why would you ever think, even for a moment, that the crooks that infest this town are the sort of people you should listen to or emulate or follow anywhere? Somewhere inside your mostly dormant brains, you know full well that politicians are all corrupt liars and thieves, opportunistic con men, exploiters, and fearmongers. You know all this, and yet you still speak as if you are the ones who are the stupid, vicious animals, while the politicians are the great, wise role models, teachers, and leaders without whom civilization could not exist. You think these crooks are the ones who make civilization possible? What belief could be more absurd? Yet when they do their pseudo-religious rituals, deciding how to control you this week, you still call it law, and continue to treat their arbitrary demands as if they were moral decrees from the gods that no decent person would ever consider disobeying.
All right. Russell, you back with me?
Oh, I'm back.
Well, I thought
guess that's about it.
I posted that on Facebook. Anarchy, awesome speech. I think that comes from Yukon Jack. You might look him up. And again, folks, if if I was a politician, if I was asking you for money to run my campaign, would you support me? Well, I won't do that, because I don't want to hobnob with these crooks and criminals that you're supporting right now. You're supporting the people that are enslaving you. You're supporting the people that are selling you out. It's time, maybe it's time to change that a little bit. Support the free American. I'm the one working for you. I'm the one that's trying to... Remember, I started this after what happened to Waco, because I swore I would never sit back and watch something like that happen again without trying to stop it. Not sit back at TV, watch your life unfold, watch this criminality unfold under this Talmud vision. And that's exactly what it is. Russell, we're out of time. God bless you. Thank you. See you next Friday.
What you do, and folks, talk to you out there. Take care.